Good Tuesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Tuesday. We have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you've heard of my conversation with Dr. Timothy Mullett discussing the prevalence of lung cancer and what you need to know about it. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Tuesday headlines. In international news, Ukraine to civilians leave liberated areas before winter. Ukrainian authorities have begun evacuating civilians from recently liberated sections of the Kherson and Mykolaiv regions, fearing that a lack of heat, power, and water due to Russian shelling will make living conditions too difficult this winter. The World Health Organization concurred, warning that millions face a life-threatening winter in Ukraine. Authorities urge residents of the two southern regions, which Russian forces have been shelling for months, to move to safer areas in the central and western parts of the country. The Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister said on Monday that the government will provide transportation, accommodations, and medical care for them, with priority for women with children, the sick, and elderly. The Deputy Prime Minister last month asked civilians now living abroad not to return to Ukraine for the winter to conserve power. Other officials have suggested that residents in Kyiv or elsewhere who have the resources to leave Ukraine for a few months should do so to save power for hospitals and other key facilities. The World Health Organization delivered a chilling warning Monday about the energy crisis human impact on Ukraine. This winter will be life-threatening for millions of people in Ukraine, said the World Health Organization's regional director for Europe. Attacks on health and energy infrastructure mean hundreds of hospitals and healthcare facilities are no longer fully operational, lacking fuel, water, and electricity. He warned of health risks such as respiratory and cardiovascular problems from people trying to warm themselves by burning charcoal or wood and use diesel generators and electric heaters. The evacuations are taking place more than a week after Ukraine recaptured the city of Kherson on the western bank of the Dnieper River and surrounding areas in a major battlefield gain. Since then, heading into the winter, residents and authorities alike are realizing how much power and other infrastructure the Russians damaged or destroyed before retreating. In more international news, NASA capsule buzzes moon, last big step before lunar orbit. NASA's Orion capsule reached the moon Monday, whipping around the far side and buzzing the lunar surface on its way to a record-breaking orbit with test dummies sitting in for astronauts. It's the first time a capsule has visited the moon since NASA's Apollo program 50 years ago and represents a huge milestone in the $4.1 billion test flight that began last Wednesday. The close approach of 81 miles occurred as the capsule and its three wired-up dummies were on the far side of the moon. Because of a half-hour communication blackout, flight controllers in Houston did not know if the critical engine firing went well until the capsule emerged from behind the moon, 232,000 miles from the Earth. The capsule's cameras sent back a picture of the world, a tiny blue orb surrounded by blackness. Our pale blue dot and its 8 billion human inhabitants now coming into view, said mission control commentator Sandra Jones. In national news, Biden sending federal aid as New York digs out from huge snowstorm. President Joe Biden is sending federal aid to western New York to help state and local authorities clean up from the massive storm that dumped as much as 6 feet of snow in western and northern New York, the White House announced on Monday. The emergency declaration authorizes the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency to coordinate disaster relief in 11 counties hit by the lake-effect snowstorm Friday and Saturday. In entertainment news, Power Rangers star Jason David Frank dies at 49. Jason David Frank, who played the Green Power Ranger Tommy Oliver on the 1990s children's series Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, has died. Justine Hunt, Frank's manager, said in a statement Sunday that Frank passed away. She did not name the cause of death or say when he died, but asked for privacy for his family and friends during this horrible time as we come to terms with the loss of such a wonderful human being. Walter Emmanuel Jones, the original Black Power Ranger, who co-starred with Frank in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, wrote on Instagram that he couldn't believe it. "My heart is sad to have lost another member of our special family," wrote Jones. And finally, in business news, stocks end lower on Wall Street Monday as tech weighs down the NASDAQ. Stocks closed lower on Wall Street Monday as a slide in technology companies offset gains elsewhere in the market. The S&P 500 fell 0.4%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ Composite dropped 1.1%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average held up better, ending down just 0.1%. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Tuesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. This is more than just another day to go through the motions. It is a gift that can be unwrapped moment by moment, allowing you an opportunity to showcase the very best of yourself in what you do and say. Have an amazing Tuesday. We are part of my conversation coming up with Dr. Timothy Mullett in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Dr. Timothy Mullett joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show this week, to talk about the developing issue of lung cancer and who is most at risk. Here's a bit of our conversation. Dr. Mullett, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus. It's nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about a message of hope for lung cancer.
Well, I appreciate that. And this is an interesting topic, Dr. Mullett, because a lot of times people think, well, if I'm not a smoker, I don't have to think so much about lung cancer. But who is most at risk, Dr. Mullett, when it comes to developing lung cancer? And can non-smokers also get lung cancer?
And that's a great question. And I think that it is important to understand that there are some specific risk factors for lung cancer, and tobacco being the chief among them. There are other risk factors, though, such as radon exposure. We should know what our radon levels are in our homes. Heavy metal exposure, other environmental exposures, but chief among those is tobacco exposure. And so if you have a history of tobacco, you certainly should be talking to your doctor about quitting, or if you've already quit, even if you've already quit, talking to your doctor about the opportunity and whether you're eligible for lung cancer screening.
So with that being said, then, who should get screened for lung cancer then? When should it happen, Dr. Mullett?
Right. Lung cancer is certainly we should be screening patients. We think about 50 plus 15. So if you are over 50 years old and you have more than 15 years of exposure of tobacco, then you should be talking to your doctor about the possibility of lung cancer screening. You may be eligible for that, and even if you've quit smoking, you may still be eligible for lung cancer screening. Lung cancer screening can decrease the opportunity for you to be found with late-stage disease. We can find these cancers earlier. We can find them at a time when we can cure them. We can treat them with surgery. Many times just small incisions, a video camera or a surgical robot can be used, and patients tolerate this procedure very well. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. Prepare to get on tomorrow with more news, a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Let us go make it a great one.